All right, everybody ready for a little bit of FoodPanda? All right, let's have it. Hey, have a seat, Benjamin. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we only got 20 minutes here, so we're going to get right into it. Benjamin Bauer, the CMO of FoodPanda. He's originally from Germany, lives in Berlin, but lives on an airplane, Hong Kong, Singapore, all over. FoodPanda, as you guys all know, is conquering emerging markets in their field. But why emerging markets? Benjamin, what's that all about? Why did you choose to go into emerging markets to get started?
Yeah, I think for us it's very clear that food delivery only started 30 years ago in the US, and it's naturally growing because we all want more convenience. At the same time, and that's why we decided to not do it in the developed world, the emerging markets has a growing middle class and even more demand for convenience than the US or Western Europe. And what we see in the emerging markets, there are some unique challenges. There's like Indonesia doesn't have a postal code or street system, so we had to invent it to figure out where a customer lives.
How did you figure out where the customers live?
Example out of Saudi is we get a comment in our ordering. It says roughly the neighborhood, and then it says turn right at the minaret, then second left, and then with the blue car, you still need to go 2 doors straight. And then our riders find that. So in Hong Kong, that's much easier, as you know. We have proper street addresses here.
Yep.
But essentially, we see that the emerging markets have one growing middle class, plus the adoption of internet and especially mobile smartphones is huge. So we're essentially leveraging 3 trends at the moment.
Okay, so you say emerging markets. You're in Asia, you're in the Middle East, you're in Africa.
Eastern Europe, Russia.
Eastern Europe, Russia,
yes.
Right? Okay, so you've got a place like Hong Kong, for example. You say the cultures are different. Hong Kong's super safe, but let's say, I don't know, say Nigeria. Is it a different situation over there? Like, how do you kind of, these different emerging markets?
Yeah, I think it's crucial to be successful and to scale to above a certain level, to adapt to the local cultures and change depending on the culture. So you mentioned the regions that we are in.
Sure, you're in 30 countries, and we talk about that. You guys didn't expand one market at a time. You bam rolled out to 30, instantly. How do you move that fast into so many markets at once?
Originally, we started out at, maybe I'll go one step back from that question. We started out in Singapore, tested the market in Singapore, expanded to 3 other Asian markets, Taiwan, Thailand, and Indonesia. It all worked in those markets. Then we said, okay, let's go to a totally different cultural background and expanded to Colombia. And food delivery was even working in Colombia. And that was the surprising thing.
That's a big jump.
Exactly. Yeah. Totally different culture, much more open culture, less mobile culture than Asia, very different buying behavior, but it still worked. And that was for us the decision that we said, now we raise funding and we expand big time. We expanded to over 30 markets in less than a year.
Okay.
And we had 1 year where we expanded. Okay,
if you're going into 30 markets all at once, I mean, you've got to have a plan. How does that work when you've got so many different markets and conditions? How do you do that?
So we went into those 30 markets with a very standardized approach. We hired a local manager who hired a very same team setup we hired in every single market around the world. Okay. We went in with the same IT product. FoodPanda was always looking the same. We went in with exactly the same marketing approach, and that was only performance marketing, so only SEM and display advertising, mainly via Facebook and back in the days. And then we looked at which markets are working and how are the markets working. Some markets were less responsive, other markets were very well done. And now all of our markets that we now focus on are growing, and growing big time and profitably growing. I think that's one of the core thing.
So when you go in there, though, you say you've got one plan, you got the same technology provider, you've got the blueprint you roll out, but I mean, countries are different. You know what I mean? And you hear the horror stories of people trying to apply the same thing in multiple markets and it all goes wrong. But you guys have made it work. You're starting to get profitable in a lot of these markets. At what point do you start to localize? If you've got a standard rollout plan, when do you start to fine tune?
I think it's a very relevant question, because you have to localize to win. You can start with a standardized approach, see if a market has potential, but then you need to culturally adapt. Starting with the delivery. In Hong Kong, most of you have seen it, I guess, we're delivering with bikes. In other parts of the world, we're not allowed to deliver with bikes. In Moscow, you're not allowed to deliver on a motorbike.
It's actually illegal to deliver on a motorbike in Moscow.
Just illegal.
Wow. Okay.
The Russian government decided it's illegal, not working. So what do we do? There were two options. Either we deliver with cars, but Moscow has huge traffic, a lot of traffic jams, taking forever. So the pizza is going to be cold if it arrives. So what do? We deliver with the subway. So our guys pick up the food at the restaurant, take the metro, get out, and deliver it to the customer, because it's the quickest way. In Singapore, we leverage electro bikes, e-bikes, to deliver, because it's the quickest way. And that's one part on the operations side, how you need to adopt. And then on the other hand, you need to adopt much more on the marketing side and marketing channels. For us, marketing channels in Saudi Arabia and Snapchat works extremely well, while it doesn't work in any other country.
So Saudi Arabia, Snapchat.
So Saudi Arabia, whoever is working in Saudi Arabia, use Snapchat as a channel. It's amazing.
Wow.
In Asia, we're talking about different messaging apps. We talk about Facebook being replaced as the social network. We're talking about totally different display publishers. We talk about different search engines. We're active in Taiwan. We can screw Google in Taiwan. It's a small market share for us. It's all about Yahoo over there. Yandex in Russia. Adapting to those cultures and adapting also on the brand image per culture. So I mentioned to you that we started out with FoodPanda in Russia.
Right.
And then realized it doesn't work. FoodPanda doesn't work in Russia, because Russians connect the panda with China, China with communism, and communism with the old times of the Soviet Union in Russia, and not with sushi. So
no sushi?
No sushi in Russia.
That's the dividing line in Russia. There was communism and no sushi, and then all of a sudden there's sushi. Okay, and that's the new world. So you said when you go into new markets, it's all about performance marketing when you get in there, but I know that brand marketing's got to be important as well. Here in Hong Kong, we're seeing kangaroos fighting pandas in the streets. Can you talk a little bit? Yeah, the Hong Kongers have seen it. It's ugly. Can you talk a little bit about the difference between performance marketing and brand marketing, and when you emphasize one over the other, or how you develop them in tandem?
Yeah, generally, performance marketing helps you to scale very quickly at the beginning. But what we see across our 30 markets is that the loyalty of customers that we acquire through performance marketing, be it SEM or display advertising, is lower than our brand customers. So our customer lifetime value of performance marketing customers is lower than of our brand customers. And that's why we're shifting more and more towards brand. And secondly, we see the big trend towards mobile that you all know about. And the discovery on the App Store is still broken. Even though Google and Apple are working on it and trying to improve it, it's still essentially broken, and you don't find anything.
Ouch.
So, and there, the brand image and brand searches are much more important on the App Store and mobile side of things. So that's why, for us, we now focus much more of our marketing spend onto brand marketing.
Okay.
I guess like 1/3, 2/3 split.
So 1/3 on the performance?
On the branding side.
Oh, 1/3 on the branding side.
No, 1/3 performance, 2/3 branding side.
2/3 branding, okay.
More branding than performance. And I think that was a very crucial learning for us to really see customer lifetime value being massively impacted by brand spend.
Okay, how about the difference between mobile? Can you talk a little bit about mobile marketing versus kind of desktop, laptop marketing? Is there a big difference there in terms of different markets and how you use them and how you develop those channels?
Generally, you see at first big differences between the mobile adoption within markets. We're right now in Asia, where we are basically all mobile. In the Middle East, it's even more extreme. In the Middle East, we do almost 100% of our orders via mobile.
Okay, wow.
Interesting trends that we see is that during lunchtime, we see much more desktop orders, because people apparently sit in front of their laptop at work or computer and order.
That makes sense.
And then at dinner times, it's much more mobile-driven.
Okay.
Mobile is for us really core strategy to acquire new customers, but it's easier and cheaper to acquire website customers and then upsell them to mobile.
Really?
So that's what we, besides our regular mobile advertising, what we do is we see that upselling customers that we first acquire on web and then upsell to mobile are cheaper, essentially, than directly acquiring on mobile.
Okay.
But we see 40–50% of our customers never using a desktop.
Wow. Okay. And how about Africa? You didn't say anything about Africa and the split there, because I mean that's for a lot of people that's a market they don't know very much about.
In Africa, it depends very much on the market, and the markets are very, very different in Africa. You have Nigeria, which is quite wealthy country, and then we're also active in Ghana, etc. You see much more feature phone usage still in Africa. So for everyone who is in a very developing market, you should leverage Facebook has a feature for feature phones for advertising, which works extremely well for us over there. But in general, it's even more mobile-driven, but low-end smartphones. So, and that's something that many developers are not aware of when you talk to your developers, that you need to make your app downwards compatible, especially on Android.
Okay.
Yeah, because we still see Android 2.1 being used by our customers.
Okay,
which is crazy.
In terms of acquisition, online mobile advertising, I've seen the telcos in Britain are starting to experiment with ad blocking. And a lot of people are concerned about that. Is that going to impact on how you do your mobile marketing if it takes off? Is that something you guys are looking at, or do you think it's still a little bit too far out there to worry about?
I think it's still too far out to worry about. It's not coming in the next 3 months to somewhere, and most of the telcos, especially in the emerging markets, make good money on advertising. So if you talk to Singtel in Singapore, you can actually buy pretty good advertising from them. So I doubt that they will ever introduce an ad blocker on their side. It's slightly different in Europe because you have different privacy regulations. But telcos in the emerging markets are, and most of you probably know, are very happy to send advertising SMS to their customers.
Yes.
So the ad blocking shouldn't be a big case for them.
Okay, that's good to hear for a lot of people in this room, no doubt. One thing, just because it's been in the news recently and people are asking about it, we talked a little bit about delivery systems. People have been talking about FoodPanda and drones. What is going on? Are you going to start delivering? Is it going to be, you don't ring my doorbell, I got to open my window? And you guys are going to send it in? I mean, what's going on in drones?
Yeah, I think, unfortunately, it's still quite far away. So we are experimenting with it. We're doing some test flights. We're developing systems with drone manufacturers. But essentially, there are still so many questions open to that topic that we're addressing with governments and that we're talking to. But it starts with the legal aspects. Right now, drone delivery is not legal anywhere. It's maximum, it's gray zone. Most likely it's illegal at the moment in most countries. So right now, when you do a drone flight and drone delivery, you get a one-time permit from a government. Then it's the point that you just mentioned. Is drone delivery really the right thing for the last 500 meters?
Right.
Or is drone delivery rather a different step in the delivery chain? Because how do you get food up to the 11th floor in a drone? Or is the customer going to come downstairs?
So we're not talking about the drone goes to the restaurant, gets the food, and goes all the way to the customer. People, you guys are maybe thinking about just having the delivery guy has a drone that'll pop off the back of his scooter or whatever and go up 11 floors and in the window.
That could be one option. Right now, we're testing on the restaurant to consumer delivery with the drones. But essentially, that's it's very far off. It's kind of like with the autonomous cars. We want to do it because it enhances the customer experience, but it's still very, very far off.
And it could save you that problem, when you go to deliver the food and the people answer the door naked, and you're like, I didn't want to see that. Just send the drone up, and we'll get it all sorted out. That could be the future. You're in 30 markets right now. We've got a couple of minutes left. Can we maybe talk about the next 30 markets? Where do you want to go? Where do you see more promise? Do you see yourself ever moving into the developed markets and competing there? Or are there just so many developing markets that work for your various models now that you would have another 30 developing markets that you would want to go into? What's the future?
So for us, we talked about that before quickly. It's the first year was about testing. The second year was about expansion to many markets. And now it's about consolidation, path to profitability, very clear unit economics. Our first countries are profitable. Most of the other markets are going to turn profitable very soon. And it's not about expanding, but it's really about consolidation and expanding within the existing markets. India alone, we are now in 160 cities, and there's so much more room to grow. In Hong Kong, we now expanded the other week. We expanded to cover full Kowloon finally. Not only Hong Kong Island. And it's not only on an area level, but we're going one level deeper now. And we, maybe example from Hong Kong, we sliced down our Hong Kong customers into 100 different audiences. and looking at very much, at very detail, what is the expectation of every single audience. As an example, we didn't just look at students or male and female students, but we looked at students at a single university, undergrad and grad, and male and female. And what's the expectation there? And can tell you that an undergrad male student just wants burger and pizza. And very cheap. So
that's some serious segmentation. So thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, the CMO for FoodPanda, Mr. Benjamin Bauer. Let's hear it for him. Thank you.
Thank you.